Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. Game 4 is about to begin here between Evil Geniuses and FlyQuest. A great Game 3 out of FlyQuest to keep themselves in the series. 2 more to go and they make it to the next round.
It's exciting for them to be able to make it a tight series. Hopefully they'll be able to continue battling back, as EG had looked quite dominant in those first 2 games, but the removal of Gragas and some mistakes from EG, as well as better play and the substitution of Solo, had really shaken things up. So EG now, having lost that last game, they get side selection. They will be on blue side for the first time, I think. Actually, no, maybe they were blue side.
Well, they got it in game 1.
They
picked
blue
it in
side
game 1.
So they're back on blue side, I should say. And we'll see if that has any difference here. Will FlyQuest be willing to ban away something like that Gragas very early? And if it is left up, is EG willing to actually first pick that? You know, is it high enough priority? Because thus far, it's been a lot of Sett first pick.
Right, it has been a lot of that one. We'll see if Aphelios changes things around, of course, as well. We're seeing the Recon ban. I think it's very smart that EG get that out of Ignar's hands. It's been one of his very best champions. He's so good at initiating playmaking champions. If you can get that guy on Braum, that's awesome, right? Yeah. I think that is a positive there for EG. They're going to add the Azir ban in as well. PoE 3 times on that champion. FlyQuest themselves have learned the lesson. They're going to keep that Gragas ban up as well. And I think FlyQuest are running out of bans in this series. I think they're never going to leave out Gragas or LeBlanc. The Senna is probably not even that fungible as well, though we'll see. But I think on the same side, I think EG maybe not willing to give those away either, and they're going to say that maybe Sett's even more important than Aphelios.
It is interesting because Sett, it's one of those champions that it just kind of default gives you priority early game up on that top side. The response here are going to be Aatrox, so this is a run back, I believe, from game 1, where we did see that Sett versus Aatrox style matchup. Obviously, Solo now in there, so that does change things up. But, you know, it hasn't always been the most effective in the LCS, but it does give you pressure up on the top side. And it's also, if your top laner is not your strongest member, it's one of those carry style champions that can't really be abused and is going to allow you to kind of go even-ish and have an impact, right? Kumo is clearly not EG's win condition. They almost never play up around Kumo. That's why they have him on a lot of these styles of champions that can kind of succeed well on their own, and then they can focus on Jiizuke, they can focus on perhaps the bot lane and these types of things. So it'll be interesting to see how he does against Solo here, because if he can maintain an even or better lane against Solo, I think things are going to be looking pretty good for EG. And this pick ban means that they're going to get Kalista back, right? They're going to have the ability now to have Bang on this champion, which he was so successful on in that first game. And also the takeaway of Pantheon makes me wonder that if FlyQuest leave it up, will EG just go back to Ryze? Because remember, Ryze was largely shut down by Santorin having Pantheon and being able to join alongside the Aatrox for those semi-global plays, for those 2v1s. With Pantheon on their side, it opens up much more of an ability for EG to be the one getting that side lane priority and playing through that. And that's something that Jiizuke really does excel at. So I'm interested to see if this is kind of tipping their hand, so to speak, and indicating, hey, we want to go to the side lane, we want the advantage.
And maybe so. I wouldn't be surprised to see a Ryze ban overall, especially with, you know, Azir dropped as well. You kind of think about what are the matches he cares about. I want to harken back to the point you made earlier about Kumo not being the win condition, consistently being on Ornn, Sett, Ornn, Sett, Ornn, Sett. I mean, he is, to me, more their loss condition. One thing we saw right at the very beginning of the game is he burned Flash arguably needlessly at level 1. Some of that was part of the reason top had so much pressure. Yes, Svenskeren made a mistake in face checking Herald, like the mistakes were made, but some of that top difference was not just Solo being good, and I think he is better than Viper, but Kumo being the worst laning top laner in the LCS. The stats back that up. As the second seeded team, he is the worst early game top laner. There is a difference here, and it is that Kumo is not played around and doesn't rise to the challenge when he is. And so now as we get to the second phase, we can see what else comes through. Will we see jungle pressure topside with Sejuani Aatrox? I mean, maybe. That's a CC chain right there. We might see attacks there. But regardless, we have, I think, 4 games in a row, a second round Zoe ban away from Jiizuke. The Taric that we saw with Kalista in game 1, that option's removed as well, so the Ryze is going to be left up. And, well, it means that they can last pick for PoE once they see it, at least.
Yeah, I'm gonna be really curious. Will it be that Rise? Did I kind of read it right? And I agree. I mean, Kumo obviously did make a lot of mistakes. The flash was a big deal. I actually think the bigger deal was the use of his teleport. I felt like he was healthy enough that he could have actually stayed around. Instead, he TP'd right back into a wave that was already being pushed in. So, ended up getting chunked out, falling behind as far as that goes, and kind of mismanaging that did put him even more behind because he TP'd back, got low again, then had to base without TP and lost even more minions. So Cassio going to be banned out. Cassio, that says Rise even more to me with that ban. Cassio is a strong matchup into the Rise, so I think I did have it right. I do think EG is going to go for Rise here, try to play the side lanes, have Kumo withstand that matchup early against solo, then start to group, send Jiizuke out on a side lane to Rise alongside this Pantheon from Svenskeren, but they still have to lock it in for me to be correct, so we will find out.
They need mid, they need support, or they need to flex the Sett out of
Sett
top
support.
Lane.
Yeah, I think it could be Sett support because Tarek got banned. So with the Tarek ban and Ornn getting locked in, I think it's actually going to be that. And Taliyah, so very interesting. So it is still going to be about the side lane play, but now it's about bot lane. It's actually about crashing towards bot lane, utilizing the engage from the Pantheon, from the Taliyah. And it remains to be seen where everything is going to be put. Is it going to be Sett support? Is it going to be Ornn support? Is it going to be,
I like Sett
something
with Kalista
really crazy?
a lot.
Taliyah and Pantheon could also both be swapped between jungle and mid. So there's also that.
Sure.
There's actually potentially a number of things that could get flexed around to make things interesting, but I do think it's going to be Sett Kalista.
Right, and I also think the big thing is that Jiizuke's second most played champion, is Taliyah, right? LeBlanc is number 1, and everyone's banning that all the time. Taliyah is next on the list. It's above Echo as number 3, so if there's a Taliyah, I expect it to be for Jiizuke. He's up against Corki. Here is the matchup, so PoE is again on a fairly safe backline, consistent damage dealer. I think we keep Sett down there. I like Kalista Sett as a duo for a lot of the same reasons I like Kalista with Tarek is you have sort of hard to access team fight crowd control that you can then throw him in to guarantee it, knock up, walk behind him, face breaker it. If you go for the ult and it doesn't quite work out, you can come back in. There's a lot of safety here. It can work really, really nicely. For extra spice, it's going to be Omnistone on the Sett, which I'm really happy about. I think it's a great keystone. That's fun for me. We got Dark Harvest for Jiizuke. We got all kinds of fun runes that I have appreciation for.
Yeah, this is interesting. The Omnistone on support Sett, I feel like is a little bit questionable. I'm gonna reserve judgment and see if he can kind of make me feel differently, but I just feel like when you are playing support, Aftershock is very important for creating the tankiness in the early levels, where you don't actually have all of the bonus stats from the additional gold that you would get in a solo lane. You are lower level than you would be from a solo lane, so you are inherently squishier and therefore usually more dependent on things like the stone plate and the early Aftershock to try to make things happen. Omnistone, though, can be very useful as far as laning. It's also coded now to more often give you things like Predator when you are basing, so you can Predator back out on the map, look for roams, and do those sorts of things. So will be very interesting. And as you said, the Dark Harvest, also pretty cool coming out from Jiizuke. So I want to see if they can actually find anything, with that, if they can stack it up enough that it really makes a difference. This is also...
I mean, the upside is basically you get to trigger Aftershock and then get a new keystone mid-fight, so that you get 2 keystones. And that is the supreme upside,
but you also
some
have
RNG and some beneficial coding. Well, of course, right. and yes, that is the downside, right? Is that it's Conqueror for Zeyzal, so we can face breaker you and deal 25 more damage with it, which, okay, not garbage. And then you get a new one, you hope it's better. But yeah, lethal tempo is going to be pretty bad. Dark Harvest everyone's full health can be pretty bad. But yeah, when you Predator into mid lane at level 5 and kill someone, worth it.
Very cool. Yeah, so that's why we kind of have to reserve judgment, see how it does pan out. Also, worth noting, I was talking about the tendency of Igner these last 2 games, how he was actually sitting in that side brush, and at 130, he was actually going forward to then sweep out a pixel brush. This game, EG actually had a 3-man play waiting for that timing and actually checked for Igner in that side brush, but he had already based. So already EG, very clear that their coaches were paying attention and noticed this kind of trend that I've been pointing out last game, tried to make their own level 1 adjustment to stop it. Oh my god, flashing in level 1.
That is a lot of damage. That is Turtle having to burn the heal to get away, and half the health bar dropped off both these guys as well. I don't hate burning Flash for half of each health bar. Yes, they can burn potions. Yes, now it means Zeyzal's an easy target. Pre-6, like, Flash will come back well before he ever gets
I wonder,
ulti.
So he has Hex Deck Flash, so he can actually go back in there. Ignar's in trouble
Did it
now.
again. Yeah, he did the exact same thing again. He just Hex Flash on the brush to Face Breaker. Like, I love this. I love... This is what the inspiration Set of the Tree was supposed to do, was cool, creative rule breaking, where you flash on a brush every 25 seconds and force your opponents to recall. I'm in love with this laning phase already from Zeyzal.
Dude.
Bang, 90% Zeyzal, 10% Bang, but it's awesome. We've already got a plate at 3 minutes.
They're getting proxied.
He's doing it again!
Jiizuke's here, and Ignar's still level 1. This could be a 4-man play.
Look how absurd this laning phase is. Santorin's in though. Zeyzal had Aftershock, by the way. He's gonna be fine. First blood comes through. Omni Stone is undefeated.
Omni Stone gamer right here, Zeyzal. He is going in. What a start from EG. This bot lane showing they are not to be trifled with. They have been smashing in the 2v2. Jiizuke on the early level 3 roam, but it's a 4v4. They're all here, but it's higher level on the EG bot laners. That is level 3 on Zeyzal, level 3 on Bang, to level 1 on Ignar, level 2 on Turtle. And that makes all the difference in these early levels. That is the difference maker. 25 CS to 5, by the way,
So
for Bang.
I gotta point out something big on this one. When the laning phase started, Ignar was sitting at the blue buff. I don't know if he was leashing or what, but he was nowhere near the lane. Zeyzal and Bang were behind the opposing caster minions 2v1 on Turtle. He missed XP on the first 3 melees. Turtle was zoned out that he missed XP, not just gold, not just less hitting, actual experience the first 3 melees. So just like, he's just like not in lane. The entire bot lane just missed the first like 180 XP in the lane, which is absurdly massive for, you know, breakpoint focused lanes like CC tanks and bot lane. I don't know what forced Ignar to not be in lane to screw Turtle that hard, but that is paying forward as we're seeing already.
It could have been him looking for, you know, a sweeper play, right? We talked about those early game plays. Maybe he was looking for a different ward that had been placed to sweep that out, and that was part of the game plan. But this is terrifying now, right? You're going up against this lane, and Zeyzal, you know, is going to keep looking for these Hextech flashes. You know, he has the movement speed on Summoner Usage Rune. He's going to be able to jump in there really, really quickly. And Kalista is one of the best snowballing marksmen in the game. It is frightening to play against these lanes from behind. So Turtle and Ignar are going to have to be playing really, really safe, which means very likely EG can get full priority on these early dragons and can start potentially snowballing this. I mean, Jiizuke and Svenskeren are already running back here. They're getting zoned off the wave again, 39 CS to 16. This is a shellacking in the bottom lane.
And shellacking is accurate. It's 3 turret plates at 5.5. EG are smurfing down here. And it's just absurd how screwed FlyQuest are. Okay, Svenskeren maybe gonna be biting up more than he can shoot. Puts up the shield, still gonna be stunned. Here comes the re-engage. Flashes to safety. Ignar's at half, and they're not in turret range just yet. Punch comes through for 140. Call him Captain Falcon, as now FlyQuest forced turret away again, but stay alive out of the turret crucially.
And also, Turtle didn't get to get any CS, right? So, yes, that was a messy fight. Yes, I think Svenskeren, it's fair to call that a mistake. He ends up having to flash out and puts his bot lane in this awkward spot. But because they're so much stronger, and because Turtle is having to focus on fighting the champions, not the minions, he's not getting any farm throughout this. And meanwhile, up in the top lane, yeah, solo, you're doing great. You have an advantage here, but you're playing Aatrox into the Ornn. Ornn can stabilize and be in a position with levels where you can safely wave clear at your turret almost forever. So you really don't even care about that side of the map. EG are just going to leave Kumo on that island and say, great, farm it up, bud. And we'll be down here on the bottom side looking for 4-man plays and playing around our Kalista, who is super fed.
Well, right now, looking as Kumo claims the rest of the wave and Solo takes his first recall of the game. It's going to be about a 14 CS lead topside as the lanes reset. He's actually going to stay around and not recall just yet. Aatrox will clear one more wave and wait to see what first items come through. But Kumo is going to burn his TP 7 minutes in at level 7. And, you know, get his potions, get his control ward, and maybe he will just walk, but we'll have to see right now. The Drake is alive, and Herald spawns in about 40 seconds.
God.
Pressure again bottom side, and Turtle and Ignar level 3 and 4 to 5 and 5. 4 turret plates taken down, and will we see more down here? The turret itself's gonna drop. Here comes the wall, and they're gonna stop. No, he gets the Hex Flash off and gets back away, just really to stay alive. TP comes in for Solo, but he's a little bit alone. Back into the turret, gonna stay alive, ignited. Re-engage, looks up to the top side. Ignar, 1 hit away from dead. Bang gets the second kill of the game. Once again, diving well beyond the turret. This time around, they got a new wave that's gonna be claimed
Solo's
without
dead too.
issue at all. Solo's gonna run, face breakered in, triple knockup doesn't matter, and EG get an 8-minute first turret and 3 kills.
GG, time to go next, boys. EG are dominating this game. They are running over the bot lane. Holy moly, they are just crushing FlyQuest bot lane in this game. Jiizuke is down there every other wave. They stack the wave, they push it up to the turret. Jiizuke has had full mid lane control, pushes in, roams down, and it's these 4-man plays again where, you know, there's nothing Ignar and Turtle can do. This is actually really good by Ignar to pre-channel that Hextech Flash to get over. Then the TP comes through, but PoE is not here yet. So it's the 5v4. EG moves away from the turret, so that is not helping them out. And again, these monumental level advantages mean Bang takes down Ignar. Then you go back to the turret, which is incredibly low. That falls immediately, and Solo is always going to die here. Flash forward from Zeyzal, pulls him back in, right into that seismic shove from Jiizuke. Down goes the top laner, as bad goes to worse for FlyQuest. Bang and Zeyzal now going to be able to swap up to this top side and grab Rift to just keep the snowball rolling. Thankfully for Turtle, if they're swapping, you know, maybe you start to get into a position where you can actually get a little bit of farm.
I mean, maybe. He's going to hope he can, because there's a lot of catching up to do right now for FlyQuest. 2,000 gold deficit, and we're likely to see some cash in near the top side. Maybe the mid lane, but I'm not really sure about that one. Either way, one thing I have to do so far is every time Zeyzal gets a really troll keystone, they get a kill. Bang now has to be respectful, gets pulled back in, knockup number 2. He's gonna get completely shut down. Zeyzal on Conqueror gets nothing, and a big double kill topside in for FlyQuest.
I gotta give so much credit to Solo for that one. He walked into the bush, EG just completely assumed he was matching for Kumo. Instead, he just plays it for the long con, waits around a little bit longer. Yes, he's going to miss some minions here on this bottom side, but he actually just got his bottom lane back in the game. Gets Turtle a kill, denies all this farm from Bang and Zeyzal. They are even maybe going to get a plate. So that was a huge play from Solo. A lot of credit deserved by him, but Jiizuke moving up, and Svenskeren has his ultimate. Here they go.
A lot of damage already. WildTurtle can only try to walk away, but Jiizuke is going to harvest him darkly and grab his second kill of the game. 4-2 already, as now EG like to push on the top side. They've still got the Herald, and this feels like the time to summon it.
I agree. I think they're going to drop it for sure. I also like the split focus there from Jiizuke and Svenskeren. They knew Turtle had no flash, so he was not going to get out. So instead of actually using the seismic shove over on Turtle and just instantly killing him, we saw Jiizuke throw that at Ignar, forcing out Ignar's flash. So not only do you get that guaranteed kill of Turtle, you get the little nice bonus of that flash from the support on FlyQuest. They will get this turret here too. That is going to be feeling really, really good from EG. Was a good play from Solo, you know, kind of eking their way back into it a little bit, but EG strikes right back and punches him back down.
2,600 now, the gold difference, as FlyQuest do their best to lick their wounds. And I gotta give Turtle some credit. If you only look at the scoreboard at the bottom, look, it's 14 CS and 1 less assist. Is not that bad when you look at what actually has happened to him in this game and how absurd his laning phase had to be. So I want to give credit where credit is due, that he's done well with a really, really horrible situation. That said, it's still partially of his and his lane mates making, and there is a lot they have to do to catch up in this game.
And it's just a low farm game in general, right? It's almost 12 minutes, and Bang, who has been, they've been slamming, he has 70 CS at 12 minutes. That is not an LCS mark. That is not an LCS mark at 10 minutes, right? You know, everyone is kind of very behind the pace because of this style of gameplay, because they are just non-stop fighting. They are charging at their opponents. They're going to drop CS when you're doing that. Jiizuke as well is going to be a bit behind in farm because he was giving up some minions to do these constant roams. So that is something that you have to keep in mind, right? When you're, you know, giving up farm yourself to go for these plays, if you get caught, if you get shut down like Solo was able to do to him, well, all of a sudden you're not so far ahead.
Well, Solo is the one who has been able to free farm. A completely untouched top lane. He did TP down once, but it was, you know, to match with Kumo for that dive down there. Otherwise, he's been mostly able to farm cleanly, and he is the one player on the LCS mark. PowerOfEvil, of course, having to roam around a couple times as well. Pretty close to that at 120. And those are seemingly like the primary carries on FlyQuest here. The two who have been able to farm, who aren't the ones being consistently attacked there by the Evil Geniuses rest of the map, to be honest. And we'll see if they can scale up and make that happen indeed. EG gonna shove in the mid lane. They've already taken mid and bot, or sorry, top and bot outer turrets. So mid lane, the last place to put an AD carry, 30 minutes into the game.
Yeah, we'll see if Solo is able to get some damage down on this turret as he's up there. It feels like his TP almost up, so they could actually contest. And Solo, you know, you're talking about his ability to free farm. He actually has a huge experience advantage. It's not just the CS. It's level 11 to level 9 on Kumo right now. You know, Kumo is falling very far behind as far as that experience. We'll see if he gets 10 off this wave, and he does. So it's at least, you know, a level and a bit, not that full 2.
Yeah.
But still
only one full level.
Yeah,
yeah.
More like a level
rough.
and a half. So it is rough.
I know.
But they will grab a second dragon. This is big for them. Plus is great at securing these, and as long as EG keeps pushing the pace of the game, I think they can keep themselves in a pretty good spot. That being said, FlyQuest has some great scaling. You have, you know, this pure tank out of the jungle. You have Aphelios and Corki that are going to scale up very, very well for the teamfight stage. So EG, with their lead, have to keep pressing because Pantheon versus, you know, Sejuani, it's much easier to execute what you need to get done on a Sejuani than it is on a Pantheon. And I believe the same is true for this champion for Jiizuke, the Taliyah versus the Corki also. And even the Aphelios versus Kalista, to be honest. Kalista can be a pretty tough team fight.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely the case. I mean, good luck dancing around when Sejuani and Nautilus are pretty much constantly in stun setup range. If Nautilus lands a root at all, anything, there's 3 melees to stack up Sejuani passive, and you're just gone, right? Like you're just not doing anything with this one. So, and yeah, you know, again, we mentioned the CS differences, or the CS even accrued in general. It's like, well, yeah, it's gonna be a little harder then for Bang to get, you know, Hurricane and Ruin King and QSS to get out of that stuff when, you know, you've only got 109 CS at this point in the game, which is, you know, again, below the mark because of how the game is being played for pro.
I mean, really, the only people that are kind of at that LCS mark right now that you expect in a normal game is PowerOfEvil and Solo, because they've just not been roaming. They've been mostly just kind of chilling their lanes, farming it up, you know, trying to create advantages there. And now EG gonna get flanked.
The attempted play, they're going to push Zeyzal around, he ults, and he's going to get pulled right back in, finds a knockup, finds a bunch, he's still going to die, and FlyQuest go for the disengage, but there's a stun on the Santorin, forced to flash out as well. Ornn sounds, finds a knockup onto one, but has to flash back to safety. Meanwhile, Svenskeren went in and actually sets up the kill onto Santorin. So it's a 1-for-1 long-term, Zeyzal dropping as a trade for Santorin dying as well. EG's health bars look better as they force the recalls, and won't get too much damage mid lane, instead they're going to go for top river.
Yeah, they're going to look for another Herald here. EG, everyone collapsing. Jiizuke, though, flashed on.
Igner is going to make it happen and stay alive.
Last tick.
Ignite! Woo! Last tick won't claim him. FlyQuest, nice pickup there. Turn it around for their favor.
Yeah, that is a big one. Jiizuke had flash, but wasn't expecting it. Couldn't react in time. Does get locked down and taken out. And that may actually prevent them from going for Rift Herald. We'll see. They are heading back over to it, so wanting to try it one more time. Bang. The collapse came from multiple sides. Does flash, avoiding both the hook and the ultimate there. Then slamming Santorin back in. Bang ults him out to safety. Zeyzal re-engages, gets a good haymaker across the team, but maybe would have wanted to play it a little bit more slowly. Svenskeren, though, ults in. Kumo TP's in. Jiizuke ults in. EG collapsing from everywhere do arrive and knock down that kill. So it is the trade, but it is a positive one for them on the initial play as they took down the jungler for the support.
And now we wait to see as this blue buff's going to be grabbed without much issue. Evil Geniuses going to collect themselves back up on the map. And I really got to point out and give a lot of credit to FlyQuest, the gold is back to tied. This game was so absurdly EG favored, it made Cloud9 look like they didn't have a good early game. And then you come back and look 10 minutes later and FlyQuest have accrued a gold lead. They are down 2 Drakes that will be hanging over their heads, but they've got to feel comfortable right now. You've got nearly the Death Stance and a 60 CS lead top lane, as well as PowerOfEvil, who's still farming at a great clip and has Triforce plus Sork Shoes.
Turns out CS is pretty good when you have, As you say, right now it's a good 60 CS top lane. It's 30 plus CS in mid lane. That's nearly 100 CS right there. Bot lane, yeah, you're down 30, but your jungler's ahead plus 20. This is just way more minions killed by FlyQuest, and as a result, despite all the shenanigans in bot lane, they are holding pretty even. But EG do have a lot of playmaking. They have a lot of global, semi-global type abilities, and they are looking to continue pressing because their team is very good in skirmishes and these kind of scrappy little fights. And if they can continue grabbing these dragons, they'd be looking good.
They're going for the play. They're going for the play right now. 5v5 with Solo on the flank. Here comes the Ornn over the top. Big punch comes through, and he gets pulled right back in. Nicely played by Zeyzal. Now turn their attention to Solo, but they can't knock him down. They set up one kill already as Bang is dropped without summoners available, and EG simply forced to run away. FlyQuest with the mid-game team fight right as their mid-outer turret falls. Get a 1-for-0.
Bang gets locked down and taken out, and that is huge. FlyQuest are going to be the ones pressing up on this tower, looking to get aggressive here. And as you say, both the summoners were not available. Bang is playing the exhaust this game, something we didn't even have time to get into, to try to help him. If it is Solo or someone like that diving in on top of him, that exhaust is going to help him to stack enough spears to actually win out. But FlyQuest, if they get this dragon, I actually think they're just straight up in the lead by quite a bit because they're already ahead in gold. I think they have better scaling. And these two dragons don't really mean anything, so stopping the snowball into a soul was really the only thing EG still had going for them. And EG now is in a tough spot.
Well, they're going to try. They don't have the ulti out of Zeyzal, but he might get the face breaker. He's trying to walk into range with Demon's Plate. He will be able to. Finds only a slow out of it. Here comes the wall over the top. Jiizuke will not chase through, but Turtle does not have a way out. He does not have flash. Can they pull him back? Yes, they can. 1-for-0. Svenskeren holds the front line. Ignar low on health, down below half HP. Solo holding the front lines pretty well, but Bang has arrived. This is the rest of the squad. Ignar just barely slinks away with his life, but they are battling back and forth for the kills. 1-for-0 back in mid, 1-for-0 again down here. EG ready to keep going. Turret number 4 gonna fall.
Such an exciting game, battling back and forth here. EG just keeps on swinging because they know they have to. And despite their incredible early game, they're now in a pretty tough spot. They have a comp that is a lot harder to execute on. They are behind as far as the solo lane farm very heavily, so the gold really kind of is not very much in their favor, and now they just lost a dragon, so it's not going to be an early mountain soul for them. They still could get that. They still can win this game, but it's getting a lot tougher as FlyQuest has been very resilient to their credit.
Yeah, an early game focused composition where the early game went great, but the mid game turned around. We are at a pause real quick. There is a potential bug on the EG side. I will get more information to you as I hear it, but that is pretty much verbatim what I've been told so far. So keep you apprised of the situation as it goes on. When they resume, we will as well and keep this one going. But yeah, it's a 500 gold difference. EG are up a Drake. Like, if you look purely at the top side scoreboard, it looks like they're winning. But as you're talking about better scaling, Zeyzal, I think that's the biggest point here. I really like FlyQuest scaling, and I really don't like EG's.
I would take FlyQuest's position in this game 10 times out of 10 now because, you are very far away from hitting Soul as EG. Even if they instantaneously take the next two, which obviously there's some time for setup and everything, it's still going to be like 10 minutes, assuming they get both the dragons, right? And at 30 minutes, FlyQuest are going to have, multiple core items on a lot of these members. The Corki, you can assume, is going to have the IE finish, be working towards a rapid fire, something like that. And when you're hitting these types of points in the game and you have, this kind of reliable engage from the Nautilus plus the Sejuani, these guys who are going to be these really beefy frontliners, followed up by really consistent damage out of these marksmen, it's going to be much easier to actually execute on that. Svenskeren is going to need to find flanks, going to need to find, really good angles to actually get back on the carries because champions like Pantheon cannot actually fight front to back effectively, right? You can't actually just jump on Santorin and expect that fight to really go well for you.
Yeah, and that's the difficulty, right? Is that I think the comp looks very good on FlyQuest's side. The only easy target you've got is Turtle, and hey, that last fight went really well, right? The wall sequestered him nicely. There's no way to pull him back over. It's not like a Tom Kench gobbles him up and spits him back out. There's no support Kalista ready to ult this guy to safety or anything. If he's flashless and the wall comes down, that's a kill. Goodbye, Turtle. You're down to the Corki and to be fair, Aatrox with 193 CS. yeah, those are your carries, that'll actually work just fine.
Yeah.
So even with your ideal pick, there's follow-up still for FlyQuest, honestly. Yeah, so again, to your point, totally agree with the situation. We are going to have at least a test resume in about, I think, a minute to 30 seconds from now.
Sounds good.
To see if the issue is resolved. So that's the next update I have for you. If it is good, then great, we're back to the show. Otherwise, we'll have some more triaging as time goes on. So yeah, I mean, this is FlyQuest looking pretty closely at the attempt at the reverse sweep. I've been told again in real time they are testing the solution right now.
Great.
If all goes well, we will resume and on we go with the game. But otherwise, that is going to be remain to be seen.
Yeah.
And then if the game resumes, then hey, we know we did it.
Yep, that's true. Yes, if the game resumes, we did it. But to speak from the other side, obviously we talked a lot about the strengths from FlyQuest side, but I will say one of the things that EG's team has is really good playmaking. The ability to start fights with that are not even, right? If you are pulled into this objective style 5v5 team fighting where you both walk to a dragon and you fight 5v5, EG's likely to lose. But if EG can push out a side wave and draw a member there and then collapse utilizing Pantheon and Taliyah and these types of things and a long range Ornn engage and get scrappy fights like that, then great. Then you have ways in. Then you have ways to circumvent some of the strengths of FlyQuest team. So EG definitely not out of it by any means, but I always put a lot of stock in how easy is it to pull off your win condition, right? Because very rarely is a game played perfectly from any team in any league at any level, right? There's always mistakes. And when you have ease of execution, which is generally something that is pretty easy to fight front to back with some beefy guys and then a couple marksmen, that is about as easy as it gets if you have good engage, which FlyQuest do. That is something that you can rely on them being able to execute. Whereas, can you perfectly coordinate the Taliyah ultimate with a Pantheon ultimate and an Ornn TPing in and ulting over the top and all these things? That remains to be seen. I mean, if you can pull it off, maybe it looks great and you win, but it's definitely more difficult and requires, a lot more coordination.
Yep, totally agree with everything you said. I agree. The road to a win for EG certainly exists, but it looks like the sort of light at the end of the tunnel is narrowing somewhat. But if they play it right, hey, good for them. The execution window is still there. However, as you have noticed by the fact that it's still our faces and not Summoner's Rift, we are still trying to figure out how to fix all the issues. So we're going to toss to a quick commercial break. When we come back, hopefully, we're ready to go.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the LCS and the State Farm Analyst Desk. Halfway through, or partway through, Game 4 of the series, gentlemen. We do have still a bit of an issue, technical issue on stage. Officials are investigating a bug at the moment, so we'll keep you apprised and updated at home as we narrow in towards a solution and back into game time. But gents, this game, we were ready to call it over 5-6 minutes in, the way that EG kicked things off, and all of a sudden we're right back in it and possibly extending to a game 5. Kobe, reactions to that?
Exciting roller coaster, my friend. You're talking. The beginning of this game is exactly that. It's one of those. If that's a scrim. After the second time they push the Aphelios off the turret, he's got like 5 CS, 10 minutes in the game or whatever. That's a remake, but they fight their way back into this. FlyQuest, they're facing match point, set point here for EG, and it's going to be that over and over again. I really like that they're testing their grit, and it's good that they have a Corki in the mid lane as well that can carry some of the DPS load when their normal DPS AD carry has just finished an Infinity Edge after he just died before they went into the pause. And finally has his first item 20 minutes into the game.
Taking a page out of EG's playbook in a sense with the double AD carry there. Mark, your thoughts though on EG's hot start there, and remembering game 1 and game 2, where when they did have leads, how quick those games they were able to close. But this time around, they're not finding that kind of ease.
Kobe compared it to a roller coaster. If you're an EG fan, it's like the roller coaster got stuck on the loop, and you're just stuck upside down right now, where like things have started to go bad. And now you're paused as well. So you just don't know what's going on. You're terrified.
All the blood's rushing to the brain.
You're not feeling great. We were talking a little bit about, like, because you heard the casters talking, this is such a weird game because, yes, they were denying the bot lane for FlyQuest, but they themselves were denying their own bot lane by playing so aggressively. that everyone kind of fell behind the game state of the solo laners of FlyQuest. Yes, the Kalista was dominating, but then she got shut down that top lane swap. And then, you know, the Corki and the Aatrox were not roaming nearly as much as EG was going down to that bot lane. So when you start getting into these mid-game team fights, yeah, the Aphelios doesn't have an IE. Your Kalista only has one item too. Sometimes not even at like 17. I don't even think she had her Bork done yet. So it's really hard to actually punch through some of these frontliners, and the Corki then kind of is free to take over the game earlier than normal.
Yeah, probably. I'll come to you next, but just with a quick refresher for the audience at home, that PowerOfEvil currently sits with a 3-0-1 scoreline and 236 CS on his Corki, most in the game. Solo, second most CS in the game, 225, a 2-1-1 scoreline. So to Mark's point about the solo laners kind of creating this gap, while EG was so focused on their team play to the bot side of the map, has given us what is a 100 gold difference between the two teams overall at the current game state.
Yeah, and this is actually really nice for FlyQuest, because if you look at just the solo lane situation, it's like Ornn and Taliyah on EG side, like they can do their job without much gold. They scale well, but it's kind of like, you know, give or take, not that big of a deal compared to when you look at Aatrox and Corki. Like Corki's going to become a monster, and if you don't have an AD carry that can deal with him, they picked into the Taliyah, so they know Corki's going to be fine against Taliyah, can deal with her in team fights. But if the Kalista is going to be behind too, that means Corki's not going to have many threats, and he's a poke champion and an AD carry, so he's in a situation where he can almost 1v5 a team fight before it even starts.
So we think that from an even game state, or even the current game state, EG is actually the team that's on a clock here to close it out.
Yeah, this was TSM played a similar team comp when they did Pantheon Taliyah against FlyQuest, and they were destroying FlyQuest, killing them bot lane, and then the game goes to 40 minutes, something like that, and FlyQuest is able to crawl out of it. So FlyQuest has been in this situation before, where their bot lane is sitting on no items at 19 minutes, and they're still able to, you know, crawl out of that hole and be able to play the game.
Right. Well, so much of this then does feel like it still relies on, you know, for FlyQuest, those playmakers, right? The people who are going to actually start the fights. And in a couple cases, it has actually been Solo who's been willing to do that. And then again, I will keep going back to Igner as a playmaker for this team if they actually want to close it out here and take advantage of the lead that their solo lanes have built. I imagine it's on, you know, those guys there to really get the fight started.
Yeah, honestly, I think their biggest job is to create space for PowerOfEvil. I like that this series is coming down to more on his shoulders, because at the beginning of the day, we talked about the differences between Jiizuke and PowerOfEvil, and him going with this late game, super high DPS champion. If he can retain his spot as highest damage per minute mid laner in the league and carry this game for FlyQuest to get them back into the series, push it to game 5, it will put some more weight behind the value of this type of mid laner and this type of team strategy.
Even in the earlier games when he was playing the Azir, I mean, we didn't highlight it, but he had like 44,000 damage in the game that they won in that longer game. And I think second on his team was like 15 or 19. So, you know, he was double the next biggest contributor. And you know, he is getting set up by a lot of people. We talked about the efforts of Santorin going mid lane in earlier games that they were losing, and then Igner in the one that they won. But, you know, the quiet force behind all of that is the fact you have such a great late game mid laner. And this is another champion on Corki where he can take over this game as the rest of his team continues to be the front line engaged and set him up.
Let's take the EG perspective just a little bit, because again, you know, with where they're at in the game currently, tied in gold, tied in kills, EG though does have 4 turrets to 1 and an extra dragon 2-1 over FlyQuest. So a couple small advantages still sit in their camp, but probably when you feel the game slipping away from you, the way it kind of is in a sense with EG, you had such a hot start, you probably thought the game was over in the first 10 minutes based on how you started, and now you feel the momentum kind of going back the other direction. What would you want them to come out of this pause immediately thinking about? What do they need to change about their play to not let this Corki, for example, run away from it?
I mean,
or run away with it, right?
Yeah, I actually think EG has a slight favor in this pause, primarily because their win condition is a bit harder to visualize than FlyQuest. FlyQuest wants to group and team fight. Boom. I just figure out their game plan in half a second. For EG, they literally need to be able to abuse these globals because they're starting to lose the straight 5-on-5s. So now they need to be able to set up the map and pull them apart. So if Dragon is spawning, they need to get someone already pushing in that side lane before Dragon spawns. So if FlyQuest wants to 5-man the Drake, they're going to lose something. And if FlyQuest decides to go match that top pressure, well, now you can start pulling them apart, delaying that Dragon, and push more lanes. So I think this gives EG a bit of a favor because they get to talk about how they want to set up the map. Hopefully one of them is saying, let's avoid full 5-on-5s, let's pull Corki in a side lane, and then have Taliyah rotate faster. I hope they're saying that because I think that's what they need to do to be able to win this game.
Who's I mean, I was about to ask, I think maybe a dumb question, say whose responsibility is that? It's probably would be the coaches in a lot of cases. But if you're looking at the players specifically, who in the game right now needs to realize that win condition for EG? Who's in the best place to understand that circumstance and the relative power levels of the matchups?
I think it's probably somewhat weirdly Jiizuke and Sven. They're the ones with the globals, so they're the ones who know, hopefully, that like, okay, Jiizuke can say, let me be mid, because they've been having their Kalista mid, and the enemy team's been attacking that. It might be better to leave the Taliyah mid, put the Kalista in the side lane, then go to her, versus collapse from the sides to mid. But it is a weird situation, because I feel like the answer would normally easily be Jiizuke when he's on Rise and the side laners himself, but now it's more of a team effort to do this, where they rely more on globals than just a single champ. And so maybe that's part of the reason that they're struggling a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, ease of execution is definitely something to consider with these compositions, particularly as we move into the later stages of the game where, you know, one fight can determine it all, and you essentially hit, you know, reset on, you know, any other advantages you may have garnered throughout the course of the game. But if, you know, this game extends and we maybe end up in a 2-2 scoreline, I think something that we're going to have to start considering is, one, again, the momentum of the series and how FlyQuest, having put two together, will have tons of momentum going into Game 5, but also recognize that the 2 wins will have come with solo, again, in the top lane, and how late into the series they waited to make the change that seems like is the right change for them in the best-of-5 scenario.
The whole solo situation is one that is just so weird to me, because it feels like to us from the outside looking in that ever since they initially made that swap, I personally been on more of the solo train, and so it's always been a little confusing to me why it has been so back and forth through week 9 and even now through the playoffs. So it's hard to put myself in FlyQuest position to speculate what they're seeing, because it must be something in scrims, because it's not coming through on the outside to me.
Yeah, it's got to be some intangibles, because even in the last game with solo, we had a random checkpoint in the game. It was like 22 minutes or something like that. Since they were playing the exact same matchup, solo had 60 more CS at 22 minutes than Viper did. So it was like 230 to 170 CS. So like that's not a gigantic game-breaking thing, but at least tells you like someone is playing, like, they're just playing the game differently, and that's gonna lead the game into a different situation where you actually saw them go top a lot more than they would normally with Viper. And I'm gonna guess that has something to do with solo being like, hey guys, I have pressure, you can come top, or like this is a good time to rotate, or I can dive this guy. So I assume there's a lot of things that we just aren't hearing, and maybe Viper is able to do that more. I'm not sure.
Yeah, one would have to assume. Kobe, I'm going to switch gears a little bit. We got the time, so we're going to zoom out a little bit from this game itself and more holistically for the series. Who do you believe on each team is the top performing member within this series right now?
For evil geniuses right now, I'd say Bang. Bang was, we teched some votes for player of the series last game, and I would put forward Bang's name for sure. The first couple of games that EG won, extremely strong performances. Then off of the bottom lane, Calista, they played aggressively, pushing Turtle off the minion wave. So definitely for EG that. If FlyQuest actually start to bring it back and they end up winning the entire series, player of the series might even be solo for coming in and just winning 3 back-to-back for them. Other than that, I think that PowerOfEvil stepping up would be the other key part. So probably between the two solo laners, if FlyQuest are able to come back and win it. I kind of want to touch on, though, the state that we just left this game in seemed like a really good opportunity for evil geniuses. As much as we're talking about them kind of getting outscaled from FlyQuest and starting to see the game slip away, right now PowerOfEvil has no flash. And they do have the super long range possibilities of picking people off that probably Mark are talking about with the semi-global ultimates. Plus they do have the Kalista with the Bork that can try and pull the team towards those objectives. So I'm really excited for the next few minutes to see if we have to extrapolate that far down the series.
Yeah.
Well, I did just receive word. Sorry to cut you off there, Mark. League officials have confirmed the bug, and they are looking to chrono break the matchup in its entirety. So no more updates on what exact time or anything like that. Just a brief update that they have confirmed the bug and are looking to chrono break to get us back into game. So now, Mark, I'll return to you. Your point.
Before I get to my point, how wild is technology these days, man? Where we're playing online, all this is completely remote, and we can just rewind the game. We talk about this being a throwback to the old days of League esports, and when you had a bug like this, WE versus CLG EU.
Yeah, they would have killed for this tech right in season 2.
We would play the whole thing over again. I was in those scenarios with TSM tournaments. We literally had to play a game had gone 50 minutes, and we had to play the whole thing over again.
I can't even imagine. We talk already about the resilience and the mental fortitude that it requires to even sit through a pause, let alone a remake or even a chrono break in this situation, right? Knowing that, hey, the game state is going to revert a number of seconds. And so just reminding yourself, what was that game state? What were, what was our plan and our strategy? And is it any different now? With the information and the knowledge and the time that we have. So we'll have to wait and see what the teams decide to come out with. But yes, Mark, to reminisce on technology and how far we've come is pretty fantastic. But I want to return to the point you were going to make off of Kobe's earlier before the update.
Right, just about the current game state. To remind people, they actually just got a kill in the bot lane and took the bot inner turret. And so Taliyah has 4 kills now, and they can start really spreading the map out, which is the thing about global comps. Is it's this eternal debate about when are they actually at their best? Is it when it's in laning phase and you have people pinned in specific positions and you can dive behind them? Or is it when the map's even more open and you can start finding people exposed more, even if they have more places that they can be? So this could actually be a good opportunity for them if FlyQuest isn't ready to really start dominating this side lane with Baron coming up and some of these other things being a threat when you have a Kalista who can stack up her spears in it as well.
Very interesting and an important integral point in the game for us to have a pause and to kind of splinter this decision tree here for the teams. But probably returning to the conversation that I kind of started with Kobe a little bit earlier around who are the top performing and then maybe underperforming members on each of the teams. The reason I asked the question is because I'm curious to pit the reality of today's series against, again, what the expectation was of these teams and these players coming into the day. We said mid lane featured matchup, mid lane Jiizuke versus PowerOfEvil, and to some degree, what Kobe's saying does align with that. But he also called out solo for the side of FlyQuest, and while we did talk a bit about the top lane, that was one where you guys were quite a bit more even, saying, yes, if Solo's in, we'd maybe give him a bit of an edge, but it didn't feel like the game-breaking matchup.
Yeah, I mean, I think Solo's playing well, especially relative to Viper, but I'm still not convinced it's the most important thing for FlyQuest. I think the way that Igner is playing still kind of trumps everything. The way these fights are going, because I think the series is very team fight focused, is mostly from him. I see Santorin starting some. I'll see Solo going in, but definitely the way Ignar is positioning and getting those flanks, I think forces these fights to happen. So I'm a pretty big fan of him. I'm still wanting Turtle to deal more damage. This game, I'm giving him a pass. It's okay. Yeah. He'll come online a bit later. But PoE is probably the second one that I'd like to give credit and criticism to. I think the Azir play has been pretty decent, but I'm much happier that he's on Corki, where he can kind of push out side lanes and make a play. He gets a package every so often to make a play, compared to the Azir, which is pretty much like, you set up for me, is what Azir is telling his team. So I'm glad he has a little bit more agency this game, and I'm expecting more from him.
The one thing I was going to throw in there too was, while I don't think solo coming into the game has become the biggest factor, I do think it might have been, like, in some sense, the straw that broke the camel's back against EG, because FlyQuest was looking good in games 1 and 2, but they couldn't extend that lead and close it out. With solo coming in, he might have given them just that extra little oomph that they need. Yeah, PoE and Igner, like you're saying, are the two main guys, but just having a little bit more pressure in the side lane, a little better execution in team fights was maybe all that they needed, because those were really close fights they were losing in games 1 and 2.
Yeah, I want to echo that point about Solo's team fights. Yeah, I forgot to mention, that is one thing I think he's doing really well on. He's finding his position on Sett really well and was getting in there. And even on Aatrox, he's getting on top of Bang really fast. But in their first win, I hadn't seen, like, Bang was flashing forward to win the fights. But in their winning game with in game 3, Solo was actually forcing Bang to flash out of the fight, like, as it started. So we saw a lot less DPS go down, basically just the way Solo was playing. So I do think he's a big factor in these team fights. And yeah, that's something I forgot to mention. So good on you.
Totally fair. Totally fair. Earlier we started this conversation off air, Mark, where we were kind of talking about WildTurtle and just kind of his play in general, and commenting on the fact that it seems, well, granted, like you said, probably he's on Aphelios this time around. We'll give him a pass on some of the passivity that he's displayed in the first 3 games. You were almost left wanting for some of that old WildTurtle, who would be a little bit more aggressive and would have the permission to go forward and make plays. Because at some points, and maybe this ties to your point about PowerOfEvil, it felt like no one was making plays, and maybe the Corki is what they needed. Just give someone the agency to kind of do a little bit more. But that seemed lacking in the initial games here for FlyQuest.
Yeah, I think Turtle was someone who, back in the heyday, in his early days with TSM, it was like the coin flippy kind of player who would make a lot of great plays but get himself killed a lot of the time as well. And I think he has done a great job of reducing some of those errors, but I think it has come at the cost of some of his pop-off potential. And when your team is struggling for a spark, I would have liked to have seen a little bit more of that, but he was late on some flashes and some of these mechanical things that we're used to seeing him dominate on, because he's always like 3 spots in the top 10 in solo queue. And it feels like that performance hasn't quite been there in this series so far.
Without a doubt. I'm receiving word that we are working our way through the chrono break. The process takes a little bit of time, so we're hopefully nearing the end state of that and getting ourselves back into the game. Kobe, I guess I'll come to you then for any remaining thoughts you have now that we're this far removed, again, from the game state, and kind of the importance, while yes, the loser of this series gets another shot in the best of 5s, wrapping it up today and making sure that your trajectory keeps going in, up and to the right here in the postseason.
This is a lesson in never hit surrender, James. If you're that bottom lane,
yes,
and you get dove for the 3rd time, your opponents are 3 levels up on you, 40 CS or whatever it was. You
never surrender. It was great.
Surrender.
Yeah. I am so about that mindset,
and that's what FlyQuest have right now, because EG got to set points so quickly. They have to just take each game individually, win the one that is in front of them, and try and fight their way back in the series.
I know probably, Mark, you guys have had your fair share of interactions with players in series very much like this. And so I'll come to you, bouncing off of that mentality point. I'm sure you both have worked with players who have fallen all over the spectrum in your careers, those who can handle the pressure, to the nth degree and nothing ever shakes them, as well as the players who are maybe, really feeling it and trying to find a workaround. When we look at this game in particular, I think, again, you will put focus on people people like Solo and Viper who are, you know, swapping spots, who really deserves it. And then you would look at people like Ignar, you know, an import, or, you know, somebody who still has something to improve and a lot of expectation. Let's talk mentality a little bit in a very hard-fought series here, but also with a pause and so many different obstacles being thrown at these players.
I think, like you're saying with Ignar, not to downplay this game and this series at all, but this is not like the hyphiest game he's ever played in his life. When you look at some of the games versus SKT and going to game 5 versus them.
You saying this isn't SKT level?
You know, I'm sure him and PoE,
like...
This might be shocking, but I think almost taking down FLICKR in a best of 5 at Worlds might have had more pressure on it.
Leona!
Exactly. Never forget. So in that sense, I think you can hopefully lean on some of those guys to help the younger players, who this might be some of the biggest games they've ever played in, remain more calm. And that is,
I imagine Kumo.
Yeah.
Kumo's facing some pressure right now.
Yep, Bang, I'm sure, hopefully could do that same influence. A lot of these guys are veterans, though, so I expect a lot of them to hold up pretty well through a tough series.
Probably any final thoughts here?
No, I mean, I think, the series is going to go great. This game is definitely not over, even though I think FlyQuest scales a lot better than EG. So I don't know if we'll get into a game 5, but if we do, man, that game 5 is going to be very much in FlyQuest's like positive mentality zone. Being able to come back from a 0-2 would be really scary to play against.
All right, well, probably the smartest guy on the desk because he said it right. This game is not over, gentlemen. It is very much still going. With the Chrono Break underway, we are going to take another break to create that competitive integrity delay, and then we'll be right back into the game when we come back. So we'll catch you here after the update. Thanks.
Hello everyone and welcome back to the show. League of Legends is about to resume here. We are in the middle of Game 4 of Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest, and FlyQuest seemingly have turned the corner in the series and in this game. They have come back from a huge early game deficit of focus down to the bottom lane, and now we are resuming from where our broadcast left off. Now I want to give one piece of table setting, which is the fact that the Chrono Break, because we are watching these games on a delay, 22 minutes and 51 seconds in is where that actual pause and resume happened. So we are catching up with that point in the game, and then we will then go into the sort of the chrono broken 22:51 afterwards.
Great. So I'm just glad to see things were able to get resolved. It is nice that we were able to chrono break it, and hopefully you're going to have no further issues as we are moving forward. And very important game for the two teams. Obviously, EG looking to close out this series. FlyQuest with a bit of momentum in the series since swapping Solo in. They took last game. They're looking pretty good in this game when you're considering comp and their current position as far as kind of strength of carries and solo laners. So we'll have to see if EG can kind of fight their way out of it, because they can't start playing defensively. With this kind of composition, you need to continue attacking your opponents and looking for plays.
We'll see if EG can keep that pressure going. Of course, it's going to be important, as we've talked kind of several times. This is more of a early game team, and now Zeyzal and Bang walk in, but Bang has to instantly flash away, dunk into the back line, but there's no one in range to help the fight, as Bang instantly had to flash away. I don't think they realized it was 2 versus 3, so they did play aggressively. That is what we wanted to see. Sadly for EG, it did not go well.
No, it didn't work out, and that's both summoners off of Bang. The flash off Zeyzal too. That is actually really, really big, because that is a lot of their playmaking and Bang's ability to kind of have some safety in these fights. We already talked about how much lockdown FlyQuest has earlier. You know, Nautilus is just, at this point, kind of just looking to press R on Bang, lock him down for the follow-up from the Aatrox, for the follow-up from this Sejuani, and that becomes very, very difficult for the Kalista. You know, Kalista really is a champion that often has to play from ahead. When you are even or behind in these types of games, it becomes incredibly difficult to get damage out, because you have to be pretty close to your opponents to be able to do it. And that means you need to be in a position where you can life drain tank and be durable enough that you can actually survive to keep getting that damage out.
All right, well, durability going to be a problem then if you get hit from the backliners. So there's plenty of strong divers here on both these teams. I'm expecting to see some Aatrox TP flanks. I'm expecting to see Pantheon over the back, and Taliyah probably the same. And yeah, good luck being the squishy backliner in a lot of these cases. But items are stacking up, and we'll We'll see how that progresses. It is technically a gold lead to EG, although again, so one thing I do want to point out, and I guess sort of add to... hold on, we'll fight first. Yeah, Bang and Zeyzal under attack. Bang's in a pretty bad spot, and now we are back into that live state of the game as we have the fight in the mid lane. Bang has managed to survive it. Ulti comes over the top, but can't find any kills just yet. And that is what Rikrano broke too. That's what the transition of video was for. End of the day, though, it means FlyQuest was able to grab themselves the mid outer turret and tie up the goal.
Yep, so that is that kind of jerk in gameplay there. The players obviously saw it as normal. We just kind of skipped ahead over that chrono break state. So we
switched
back
video
to
feeds basically.
Exactly. We're just swapping between observers. So we are good now, and you don't have to worry about that being a bug if you are watching. But FlyQuest not able to complete that pick onto Bang. We see that PowerOfEvil now has his IE. That is a huge buy for the Corki. Really the point in the game where you do start ramping up quite a lot, getting all that additional AD in, and PowerOfEvil is going to be such a threat in these team fights going forward. And FlyQuest just again looking to set up, try to get these picks, try to get these team fights because they want to fight straight up 5v5 front to back against EG.
And here comes the attempt. Zeyzal flashes in 4-2, and they're looking for the dive. They've shut down the Corki. They've caught PoE with flash available, and that is a knock-up on a Santorin that should be kill number 2. Dark Harvest stacking up. Zeyzal's chasing forward looking for the next kill, and Turtle again is sequestered off. EG, it's a direct 5-on-5. The front line was there, and they get the backline access anyway.
Incredible from EG. They caught PowerOfEvil. They lock him down with the point and click CC, with those stuns, straight into a seismic shove from Jiizuke, and he just got deleted. Then being able to chase down Turtle means they're going to get an easy Baron. FlyQuest, though, is grabbing the Dragon, so while they will have more power now, again, the Soul is being further delayed here as FlyQuest can pick that up. But EG showing that they can make things happen, that they can still find plays and find picks that can lead to teamfight wins.
And mid lane tier 2 actually dropped to pure minion pressure as that got chunked out. So you can see the game state. It's grown from a 500 gold lead to a 4,000 gold lead. And EG with the Baron buff, I'm expecting more out of this. Top lane tier 2 is likely an easy target. We might see the attempt to breach an inhibitor turret. And already showing their ability to dive, we may see much more of that.
Yeah, that was big, and Kumo now hitting the levels where he can actually start upgrading items for his teammates. He is close to actually finishing his second item, having the Abyssal to upgrade for himself, but he just upgraded the Bladed Rune King for Bang. The Death Cap just now finished for Jiizuke, so when he levels up again, he can upgrade that. That is pretty big for EG. Black Cleaver also waiting to be upgraded for Svenskeren, so Kumo, these next few levels are going to mean even more for him and his team. EG were getting themselves into a pretty tough spot, and really well executed on teamfight. They came up huge, got the Baron, and now back in the driver's seat. We'll see if they can deal very much damage here, if they can maybe utilize Taliyah ultimate to kind of zone people off, and it looks like that is the play they're going to go for here. Try to section off this turret, knock that down, and be able to get access to the inhibitor as a result.
Instant. The very first wave. Press R, you're not fighting anymore. Now there's no turret left, but they're going to go for the fight right now anyway. PoE hit in the backline at a half health, and looks like Zeyzal and Kumo going to be safe. They're going to find the double knock-up. They won't find the chase down. The route on 4 just simply doesn't matter. EG cracked the first inhibitor. Easy walk away. Still a minute and almost a half on this Baron buff is an easy reset, and they can probably attack mid. Maybe not with the ult combo, but with the gold lead.
Yeah, at the very least, if they don't think they can crack an inhibitor, they could go top for that top lane tier 2, try to extend the gold lead. But EG executed that so well. As you say, no hesitation. They just immediately dropped the Taliyah ultimate, pushed them off. Jiizuke was able to land enough damage onto PoE to push him out of the fight immediately. Kumo's ulting on top of him, so PowerOfEvil was threatened so heavily he really couldn't contribute in a meaningful way to that team fight, and that just let EG push forward, take down the inhibitor, and continue their march.
And crucially, their power is growing. Like, the gold lead obviously is quite nice. 10 stack Magi is also a very efficient item, so Jiizuke on a low number of deaths with some kills, has even more AP over the top, which helps assuage the fears of what could be bad scaling. We're not in that case just yet. We're not in the bad scaling part of the game. It was if the game slowed down, we'd be worried, but EG has made it work. They have found the fights. They got the Baron. They took down bottom inhibitor. Top tier 2 is going to drop. Baron's going to time out as well, don't get me wrong, but Zeyzal is already here. He's flashed in, slowed down, pulled back IgNar. He gets a flash away just in time to stay alive. The turret is going to drop though, and at the end of the day, it's a flash for a flash in the supports, and top lane tier 2 is gone. 5,000 gold difference.
Well worth it though, I think, for Zeyzal, as he's just zoning IgNar off, and Zeyzal actually has a 2-level lead now over IgNar, so he is getting very threatening in a lot of these fights, and Kumo has now hit level 15. When he joins back up with Jiizuke, he can actually upgrade that death cap for even more power on Jiizuke, who is incredibly strong at this point. If he is able to actually land a seismic shove combo to be set up by Svenskeren or even Zeyzal with a facebreaker, that can be 100-0 on any of these carries.
And you can see them trying to sink the wave. Jiizuke sitting there top lane, waiting to knock them down so that mid lane can crash at the same time. But there's the next Taliyah ult, and no one is in range to threaten bang. Auto attacks come in, put as much damage as you can. Over the wall they go, they find that first stun, and they have pulled back in Zeyzal, but he is tanky. Now FlyQuest might want to move forward. Knockup is found. Solo going to be attacked, but this could be dangerous. But is it really? They pull back to support. That is a shutdown picked up. Aatrox is already gone. FlyQuest's first frontliner is already dead. Now Zeyzal, dangerously low as well. He can't really be part of this fight right now, but a 1-for-0 is still a 1 fight for EG.
Yeah, EG are going to be able to take that kill. They can go straight to mid lane because they have a wave there, and supers are on the Nexus towers in that bottom lane. Bang playing that fight very aggressively, but no one from FlyQuest could get through those frontliners, and Turtle whiffs on the Infernum ultimate there. That's going to mean EG can just push forward even more aggressively. A lot of the pressure now on PowerOfEvil. He has his rapid fire, so he's very, very strong if he can get damage out, but just not able to do it. And EG take another inhibitor.
All right, between the team fights, basically, they've picked up a couple of kills. They've gotten, what is it, a good 3 or 4 turrets and 2 inhibitors dropped down. EG looking great at an almost 6,000 gold. And actually, wow, they're going to stay on the map.
Look
they're going to catch the top lane wave.
This is so clever. Yeah, they're staying on the map because they expected that FlyQuest is saying, all right, you're going to base. They think FlyQuest is going to go for the dragon. They are, so EG just charges up here. PoE TPs into a knockup.
Solo's gonna flash in for one of those kills. True to his name, knocks down the opposing mid laner, gets rid of almost all the Magi stacks, and crucially, the inhibitor turret just barely lives. They couldn't find the dive on the Corki. This could be the turn of fates now, as Jiizuke's gonna be dead during the Baron respawn. He comes up the same time that Neutral does, and FlyQuest, in control of the map, are pushing EG away into an awkward recall, into having barely enough time to stage a defense of that Baron buff. The Mountain Drake should be a formality, but to be fair, PoE is stuck in base clearing the waves.
Yeah, that was a really clever play, I think, from EG, but also a great response from FlyQuest. Basically, from FlyQuest's point of view, you're assuming EG is resetting, so you're charging out to the Mountain Drake. EG know that FlyQuest is thinking that, so then they just run straight to top lane to try to take this inhibitor, but there is a TP response. FlyQuest rotates very quickly. They're able to defend that inhibitor, which could have been game-ending damage, because if you get triple inhib to have 6 supers spawning every wave across the map, that is so brutal to try to actually hang on against. And now EG still, though, will have map pressure. Bot lane inhib going to be respawning soon. There's no more supers there, but mid lane still does have supers, and that's going to give them pressure to set up around the Baron.
And Zeyzal feeling comfortable to play forward. They're going to go for the red buff steal. Nicely done right there. 1 away from Soul Point, though. FlyQuest already on 3 Mountain Drakes. Number 4 is coming in just 4.5 minutes, and that is something that you might not be able to give away when you're focused on assassination power. Bang is starting up the Baron, though, and it is Fog of War down here. FlyQuest didn't fight that hard for top river control. There comes the ult in for Taliyah, but I'm not sure it's going to drop the Baron in time for that wall to stop anything from happening. Here comes the attempt towards Kumo, has to walk to the side, isn't pulled back as he pops the W. They're going for the play. Nicely picked up right there. Jiizuke with the rest of the squad and the Ren pick up the Baron. Here comes the re-engage. Ornn comes across the face breaker onto 3, but Solo's buying a lot of time, looking for Svenskeren. Look at a giant knockup. They're going to knock down Bang, and Solo wants more. He's going to find another pair of knockups. It's a 2-for-1 so far. EG are scattered, and they're running for dear life, but Svenskeren's going to drop. It's a 3-for-1 in favor of FlyQuest. They're going to take control of the map, but Baron's already been taken.
Look at the assist pings. They're actually thinking about perhaps TPing for this. I think it would be way too risky, but there was a ton of EG assist pings towards the Nexus there. Was wondering if they wanted to try to go for some sort of a play. Jiizuke doesn't have ult though. He will reset. Kumo not going to commit to any sort of crazy TP to buff those up. As you say, EG does get Baron, but losing multiple members as Bang went down pretty quick there. Solo having another great team fight. Zeyzal had a strong engage getting forward for, a facebreaker on multiple members, but the follow-up was not available for EG. They couldn't actually get a seismic shove off that to knock down any of those carries to really kind of follow through and then win that team fight.
All right, well, as you can see with our faces, we are into another pause, sadly. The teams are reporting lags. We're looking into that one. That is the one downside of playing the games online, is internet infrastructure is still a thing. Either way, though, we have, if we kind of take a look at the game state, 2 minutes of Baron buff remaining for Evil Geniuses. Their gold lead still 4,500. The question I have, though, is if they are unable to accomplish anything with this Baron buff, well, 1 minute after is when the Mountain Soul spawns for FlyQuest, and that's when you start to get really concerned.
I agree. It is really, really concerning if they're able to grab that. Thankfully for EG, there's not a lot of tanky stats being actually purchased on the side of FlyQuest, so not a ton of armor and MR being multiplied, but it still is going to make them a lot tankier. Makes it incredibly difficult if they do have that Mountain Soul shield to actually, even land the Seismic Shove burst combo and 100 to 0 someone. But something that EG does have working in their favor, now that you've cracked the base, top lane inhibitor tower very low also, there's the possibility for things like backdoors with Pantheon and Taliyah, Kumo TPing in to try to get damage down, and these sort of tricky plays that can make it difficult to actually leave your base to go for those objectives. And we also know we did see EG, win that 5v5 around mid lane that led to their previous Baron, thanks to some really well executed team fighting. So it is still possible that they can pull it off in the 5v5, but I think it's more going to be on them to try to avoid allowing FlyQuest to set up for that Dragon Soul, trying to prevent them from even getting to that spot in the first place.
Yeah, and that's what's going to be crucial, is that whenever we do get back into this game, it's tracking, okay, how well do the next 2 minutes go? And, last time we were talking about this, we had this extended pause, and we're like, okay, well, it looks like FlyQuest in the better spot. EG can do it, of course. The avenues are there. They're not out. They're not gone, but this is a tough game to win. And then within 30 seconds, found a phenomenal engage, one-shot PowerOfEvil, took a 3 for 0, took control of the map, took a Baron off that, and then took 2 inhibitors. It was like, oh, okay, well, they found that opening. I still feel like I'm in that same spot as before, where even though EG have grown their lead, like they've done better than I expected them to do over those, the last 7 or 8 minutes, I'm still a little worried over the fact that, at least for them, that FlyQuest are clearly still able to find engages, to find these picks, to drop flashless champions like Kalista and Taliyah, and despite gold deficits and everything else, FlyQuest clearly still willing to do these things, and then also have the scaling lead.
Yep. I mean, PowerOfEvil is getting really, really strong. When we were in that long pause previously, PowerOfEvil didn't even have his IE, right? So now he's at the point where he's past that. He's added a rapid fire, a QSS, and another Kerchis shard on top. So he's going to be going, for a static shiv as the last item. That does allow him to have, very high DPS output as long as he's autoing. He's obviously going to be sitting on 75% crit too. So that's a pretty big deal for him. The one kind of, vulnerability I would say with a build like this is, yes, you have the QSS as the defensive item, but there is the potential more to burst him down. He doesn't have anything like a Maw to try to absorb any of the damage that could potentially come through from Jiizuke, who would be the most likely candidate to actually, burst him out. So, when you do go for these really heavily offensive builds and you're able to free fire and your front line creates space, then you can run over a team fight, but there's always a chance to catch someone out and burst them down when you're going a little bit more squishy.
Yeah, definitely the case. And I mean, that's just kind of League of Legends, right? Is ultimately, I agree. Like, you can move the needle with a Hex Drinker or a Maw and something like this. Yeah, and Sterix, back in the day as well, used to be able to be bought on ranged champions. But I mean, one thing that also happens is when you're going at, to like 5th or 6th item, the actual carries of the team have so many items already. It's like, well, does a 400-point shield make me survive a full combo 700 AP Taliyah?
Maybe
like, well,
not.
Actually, sometimes that doesn't move the needle enough, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, it turns out that, just cleanse flashing away from the stun is the only way I live. And that is a lot of the times why we see the pro defensive items they're outplay defensive items. They're not stats, right? It's Guardian Angel or Zonia's or Stopwatch or QSS or whatever. It's because when Jiizuke's farming 10 CS a minute, he one-shots you anyway, and you have to actually just dodge the spells, which is turn invisible or something.
Yeah.
So that's that. Yeah. So I mean, you know, it's just like things to look at, things to be interested about. Ultimately, since we are still on a pause, in an effort to get the remaining issues resolved, we are going to a 6-minute commercial break. We will catch you here with an update when we return. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the LCS. It's time for Game 4, and I feel like I've said that before, of Evil Geniuses versus FlyQuest here. I like that we've got a special guest here, Zeyzal. Would you like to introduce your co-caster?
This is Stitch. He's much more interesting than I am, and he has a bandana, which I think is very fashionable.
Then everyone watching, I'm sure, is stoked to have that one there. I'm glad we got the camera shot because we are getting into game very, very shortly. From what I have heard, issues have been resolved. We'll be ready to zoom in just a moment here. Again, we've got about 2 minutes of Baron buff left on Evil Geniuses as they lick the runes with Svenskeren and PowerOfEvil trading deaths. And now we get back into the game. A 4,000 gold difference where we have to emphasize FlyQuest have a scaling edge and are 1 Drake away from Soul Point. But in the meantime, a minute and a half of Baron buff for EG to break the lead open even bigger.
Yeah, we'll have to see how much they can get done with that. Obviously, they did lose some of those Barons on the way out, but if they group up, they could buff up some of those waves, and they have the ability to try to pressure on multiple sides, right? To try to attack some of these open inhibitors, to try to really, you know, get something done here to try to prevent FlyQuest from getting the mountain.
So, a couple item specs coming through. Bloodthirster done for Bang. He recalled for that item. We already knew he had the upgraded death cap. Jiizuke actually sold his Magi's off that death. It was down to 2 stacks, and instead going towards Fiendish Codex and now his own stopwatch, the QSS, and as you were mentioning, PowerOfEvil on a more aggressive bent. That Kerchai Shard could have been the pieces of a Hex Drinker. You know, with QSS over the top, maybe it's enough to survive some kind of burst combo, but it's going to be for damage. My bet is Storm Razor for the long-range slow. We'll see what it ends up actually being, though. And here is Evil Geniuses grouping up to the bottom lane to push for the open inhibitor that has respawned.
Be interesting to see where he goes. GA, obviously another option that you were mentioning. That's something that Solo is working towards. And GA can be sometimes the single most powerful item, you know, come late game, where these death timers are so long. But here is EG pushing in once more, utilizing Jiizuke's ultimate to try to actually push up on this inhibitor. And Solo recalling, but there's no wards. Notice how they've actually cleared all of the vision out before moving up, so that there's no ability to TP in. But Igner does find the hook anyway.
Finds a pull-in. Svenskeren can be low, puts up the shield, though. Here comes the knockups, and Ornn is ready to follow through. No, he's stunned during it, and he can't find, but the dunk in the back line. Then the flash face breaker. Finds 3. A little bit of damage comes over the top. Now Solo looks for the re-engage. He's pretty tanky and has Guardian Angel and finds a knockup. Kumo getting forced to run away, pulled back in, but no one's there to follow through on the damage. Recalls come in, but with how much health comes back in the fountain, this is limited time for EG. They are coming back on the map fast, and TPs are up for potential flanks. Excuse me, if the wards ever did come down. Now it's EG running away, but the health bar lead is with FlyQuest, and EG also running out of time before this 4th and final Mountain Drake spawns.
A lot of credit, though, to EG doing such a good job of clearing out with pinks and sweepers and everything, making sure that Solo cannot TP flank. Because if they get TP flanked in a fight like that, you are going to get decimated, and that could very well be the end of the game. So EG doing their due diligence there, allowing them to actually knock down that inhibitor. They now have that map pressure of this bottom lane. It's going to be constantly pushing in. And FlyQuest, they're the team to first set up. There's 5 seconds until this Mountain Soul that they have available for themselves here. But if EG can delay them, the supers are going to be pushing in.
Okay, this could be the moment of truth. Bot lane is slowly pushing, but about 15 seconds ago till that is done. Package burned out of PowerOfEvil as Kumo. Okay, yeah, Jiizuke out of flash to trade for that one. Here comes the fight towards the bottom side as Svenskeren and Solo mark each other. Mountain Drake, of course, is alive mid, pushing in, and there is no turret there, so that can also be a source of pressure. EG, are they willing to fight? They are posturing very far away, and instead it's rock surfing into the mid lane. It's a TP back to the base, and Zeyzal wants to try to stop something. Bang is nearby. That's Mountain Soul picked up, and there's only a flash to keep Zeyzal safe. Here come the push into the base. They know they can take the middle inhibitor. One more auto will knock that one down, but it is Mountain Soul on FlyQuest. A stimulus of about 5,000 gold worth of health goes onto every member across the board on FlyQuest. And
Turtle's
now
in trouble, though.
They have reconvened. Is this a catch? Can they find it? Svenskeren flashes, slows, stuns. Santorin buys some time. Ornn comes to the top. That is a 1 kill picked up, but the knockup is there for Zeyzal as well. Kumo's in front. They might chase down one. They will. Bang is going to drop Santorin. His days are numbered. It's going to be a 2-for-1, but they're on to Jiizuke. Burns the stopwatch. Burns Zonia's hourglass. Now towards the Corki. Another 1-for-1. Now it's on to Zeyzal. Doesn't have a lot of damage. Trying to run away. Just really staying alive, but still Solo might find the auto attack and gets that kill. He is on a rampage. It is 2v2 on the map. Svenskeren not sure he can win this one. There's a lot more damage on Aatrox than there is on Ornn, but IgNar is getting pretty low. The chase forward. Svenskeren finds that kill, but he's 2 autos from death. Solo trying to trade it out, and now it's 1v1 on the map as the respawns are 20 seconds away, but there are super minions and an open inhibitor top side. Mid has to be answered top. It regens to 1/3 as inhibitor turrets do, and Kumo can't find that one. An equal trade of kills. The turret's going to be low, but it will stay alive.
What a ridiculous game, but now the Baron is spawning here, and EG has knocked down 2 inhibitors, so FlyQuest is going to have so much work cut out for them to actually continuously clear away these minions to keep their final Nexus turret safe, which is very, very low right now. And EG may just continue to try to bait them into these objectives and then go past them. Utilize Jiizuke's ult, utilize Svenskeren's ult, and just try to go for the base, because if you have any minions there with how low that Nexus turret is, you can knock that down incredibly quickly. The AP ratios on structural damage is really, really high. So Jiizuke will be able to kill that Nexus quick if he can get there.
Yes, he can. Right now, we're looking at the cooldowns. Quicksilver Sash just comes back for PowerOfEvil. Still 30 seconds on the Zonia's hourglass for Jiizuke. That is a window that can be abused by FlyQuest if the game goes too quickly. Solo, TP-less, is over on the right-hand side of the map with Svenskeren and Jiizuke heading that way as well. So EG aren't, I think, seriously considering Baron. I think they're doing it as a bait to try to find the global pressure. Keep in mind, if they catch a wave in the base, they can end the game outright.
Yeah, look at Jiizuke. Look at Jiizuke's positioning right now in the bottom lane. They are going for the back door here. He's ulting into the base right now.
Double ults going in to seal the deal in this battle. Now it's time to stop the recall. Santorin Marksmen tries to stop that, but this turret is going to die. It's on to the Nexus. Turtle and Solo want to stop Jiizuke and Svenskeren. They're going to certainly try. He's pushed back. Goes for the knockup. Goes for the kill on Jiizuke. Svenskeren against the world. Needs one more auto attack, and he can't get it. But the rest of the team fight has gone pretty well. It's a 2-on-3.
Zeyzal's running past them.
Is running for the backline. Kumo's hitting Turtle. Kumo's trying to run. He's going to flash forward. The Nexus will fall, and evil geniuses take the series over FlyQuest.
What an ending! That was insane. Jiizuke and Svenskeren go for the backdoor play as expected, but in the chaos, everyone from FlyQuest is trying to get back and stop them. They actually do kill them off, but they lose the fight on the other side as a result, because they are just scattering, and bang, Zeyzal and Kumo able to stroll into the base and close this one out. Against all the odds, against the scaling, against the mountain soul, they do it and take the series 3-1. What an ending.
Wow. Wow, wow, wow. What a win. EG found it in their hearts. They found it in the gameplay to use the map pressure to their advantage. They made the play for the inhibitor, got that, used the waves to go for the backdoor on the Nexus, and I mean, the amazing part was the initial backdoor is sort of what won the game. They lost the 2 kills, but the other side of the map went better. That 3-on-3 was a 3-for-0, which means that group worked so well. I didn't get to see all of it myself, but we knew Ornn ult came down. We knew Kalista was clearly able to free fire, and PowerOfEvil, the only carry left on that side of the group, right? It's PoE plus the 2 tanks. Didn't have the damage to deal with Kalista plus everything else, so amazingly well done. They separated the team. They found the fights they needed. EG make it happen. It's a 3-1 win.
Yeah, that was really, really crazy. EG definitely deserves a lot of credit for being able to close that one out. It is a difficult position that they were in, you know, given that we had kind of gotten to this state in the mid game around 20 minutes where FlyQuest was actually up in gold a little bit, right? And they had kind of a scaling edge, but EG was able to find some great team fights, utilize that advantage to take the Baron, to break open the base, which opened up the possibility for these late game shenanigans, because if it wasn't for their earlier success in the game, you can't go for these sorts of backdoor plays, you know, if the base isn't already cracked, right? And that is kind of the advantage that they had from their earlier lead, from their earlier success. So had that not happened, I think this is just a game that results in 5v5s where FlyQuest cleans it up. But also, FlyQuest deserving of some credit here, solo subbing in. The series got way more competitive. They won that first game. They almost won this second game. So FlyQuest at least, you know, putting up a fight and perhaps settling on a final roster for what would be their lower bracket game.
Right, and so we will see FlyQuest again on Tuesday. They face Golden Guardians, and that is do or die. If you're in the lower bracket, whether because you got 5th or 6th, or you lose in the first round, that is the end of the spring split for you if you lose. So that best of 5 against Golden Guardians will be on Tuesday. Of course, tomorrow we have our Cloud9 vs. Hundred Thieves match. The winner of that's going to face Evil Geniuses. That's going to be on Wednesday. We'll get all that sorted out later on. But for more on how EG picked up that 3-1 victory, let's send it back over to the State Farm Analyst Desk.
Thank you very much, Freak. Gentlemen, EG have done it. It took some time. It wasn't easy. FlyQuest made them work for it in a 3-1 series, but EG heard the 3 of your predictions, and they decided to make them ring true here in the first round of the playoffs. 3-1 victory over FlyQuest. Reactions, initial?
Just how we drew it up. All 3 of us agree that's how the games are going to look like.
Real 5-head predictions all around. Everybody
Good job,
knew
mates.
it was going to be a
Oh, my
blitz for the
goodness.
Nexus. The ending was just so good because everyone's just trying to get around their defenders to get the last hit.
It was like
Well, and
capture the flag.
you kind of really, I mean, in a sense, it felt like the way it had to be done. Probably what we were talking about in all those pauses was how, while Evil Geniuses had the map state, it was FlyQuest who seemed to be just cresting, you know, that point where they would outscale EG's composition. So EG's remaining option was don't fight, just run past.
Yeah, I mean, it got to a point where FlyQuest can only do one thing. So Evil Geniuses are like, all right, we're gonna not do that one thing that you want. So we're just gonna go run over here. So as soon as the base started cracking, that's when EG's like win condition became a lot more broader, where it's like now they can actually execute on it without, you know, too many big risks or anything like that.
Yeah, and even the one that happened before that at the Mountain Drake, where they gave up Mountain Soul to go mid inhibitor, I was like, that trade's not worth it at all. What are they doing? But it put FlyQuest in a bad position, which left Turtle cut off and forced a weird fight. And so it's not just the initial trade, it's what happens in the fallout.
Yeah.
Kobe?
I like how they stayed true to the strengths that they drafted, even as the game went crazy, even as part of the big lead fell away. The mobility that they had with Taliyah, Pantheon, the long range of Ornn ult even coming in to pick people off, staying true to the tools that they drafted for themselves enabled them to finish it.
They found it. I do want to reiterate, though, the fight that FlyQuest put up and the conversation that we've been having, even Zeyzal and Freak were touching on it a bit there at the end. The idea that we had the expectation the starting roster would include solo, and if you isolate games 3 and 4 and then picture a series where solo plays the entire time, you're maybe even looking at a different outcome or a 5-game series. So, all credit for the fight that FlyQuest put up. It should be mentioned that they are not out of the postseason, and we'll see what kind of learnings they take from this loss, in particular with the lineup moving forward.
I mean, I will say, like, the game 1 was very much in their hands, and they just did a dumb Baron. But I would say in games 3 and 4, their team fight just looked better with solo. So, I mean, if they value that over, I'm not sure what Viper brings in intangibles, then, you know.
Solid argument.
Yeah, I like how you...
It's really defending Viper there. I mean, Mark, let's talk about the way that both of these teams look coming out of the series, because again, we're in a unique position where in the playoffs, the loser of this first best of 5 isn't out. So normally we're talking, good fight, season's over, we'll see you in summer. But this is an opportunity where FlyQuest has a few days, just a couple, to get back under the hood and tinker with a new opponent in mind and maybe breathe some new life into their postseason run.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the best things about this change of formats is that you do get more opportunities to showcase what you have. And so a team like FlyQuest, who is clearly still experimenting and tinkering, like you're saying, maybe going up against Golden Guardians, they just say, all right, starting solo, and trying to ride him throughout the series, or maybe you're just giving him the shot to start and you actually give Viper the chance to come in should those games start going south as well.
Without a doubt. But while FlyQuest did take a punch to the gut today in taking the loss, it's EG who reigns supreme, Kobe. There were plenty of stars on the Rift today. Only one, though, gets player of the series. And today, that will be Bang in the bot lane, my friend.
Yeah, I think it has to be Bang. The first couple wins that they got were very big for him. Definitely game one had a rough time as far as the gold difference. But after that, the entire series just really well played for him. And remember game 4, the Kalista, the repeated dive spot where we think, oh, this is an FF game at 15. That was off of the bottom lane play.
Right, it was a 45 CS to 18 at one point, forcing Turtle back a second time under turret with all those dives. So a lot of focus, from the EG side was about getting Bang off the ground. And again, I think it serves the point that he did play up to the expectation there with the resources given to him. Probably, I saw you wanted to get in.
Yeah, the only thing I want to say, that bot dive, people won't really recognize it, but when they're able to finally crash the wave, Bang and Zeyzal were level 3 to FlyQuest's bot lane being only level 1, and the only way that happens is the AD carry has to manipulate the wave properly. So if Bang did 1 or 2 autos differently, they might have crashed that wave too much or given the XP to Turtle to get level 2 or to Igner to get level 2. So it's really important how he played that, and I think everyone's going to focus on like the Taliyah and the Pantheon roaming, which credit for them to getting to the bot lane, but Bang being able to set up that wave was really, really important for that to work.
Mark, let's just talk a little bit about what it might mean or what it says about Bang and his career, to be getting this accolade here after what has been a relatively disappointing North American stint. From when he was imported over.
Yeah, it's been a bit of a fall from grace, if you will, for Bang, even going back to his time on SKT and some of the shortcomings that they had. We would love to have those shortcomings of losing on the world final stage. It would be a great accolade for us in North America. But coming from that, and then with 100 Thieves, his first split in North America, some of the struggles that they had, having him now be the driving force in a lot of ways for picking up his first playoff win is really, really impressive to see that kind of resiliency to go into a totally new environment, have to adapt, struggle, and then come out better for it. That's the stuff that stories are made of.
And Evil Geniuses, that has without a doubt surprised us here in the Spring Split so far. We are going to head over to Tigris, though, who is standing by to hear a little bit more about that series from the EG mid laner.
Hey, Jiizuke, congratulations on the win to you and the rest of your team. Happy to get some words from you. Overall, long day. How you feeling about it?
Yeah, it was a really long process and a really long day. It was actually so weird what was happening in game 4, but thankfully we came out with a win. I'm happy.
Well, nice. I want to go back a little bit before the series today, because it wasn't that long ago that EG was struggling to find an identity within the LCS. So at what point did you and the rest of the roster feel that you really had something strong here and second seed potential in the playoffs?
I think it happened in the second half of the split. We took our win streak. We started at 2-7, I think, and then we had a win streak until 8-7, and then we ended the split at 10-8. And it's we just had to find the synergy with ourselves and just find what style should we play on, what lane should we play for, and just keep the basics on. And we did that, and games are more easy to play right now, yeah.
So speaking of that style, you're saying deciding which way to play through, perhaps which player. Your aggression is something that maybe would have been stifled, but in this case has really been played up and owned up by your team. So do you really feel that your style of being aggressive and splitting off into side lanes has been something that's become a true strength for you and everyone else?
I think just since I'm European, in Europe, basically, every player just plays crazy. When you see EU playing against EU, good teams, Like even the series yesterday, Madlands against G2, you can see that 5 players are playing crazy against each other, and NA instead is like other than Cloud9, no one really plays like that. So for me, it's good that EG has someone crazy in their team, and I think the others are like more stable, but it's like I think I can be the one of the biggest strength and also one of the biggest weakness, depending on my performance. And I'm up to take the chance. And if I play good, then I will carry my team. If I don't, I will lose. But I think most of the times lately, last 3-4 weeks, even more, I think I'm playing really good. So I think this series I did not play insanely, but it's like I was either on like first 3 games it was just about farming and stuff, and I think on game 4 instead I showed what I was capable of. I went for many crazy plays and setting up a mid into bot dive with our bot lane, and I think if we didn't make mistakes, actually this game it was like a 50 minutes game. Like Aphelios was maybe behind 60 CS, and all dev is like 15 CS ahead on mid laner. So, yeah.
Well, and speaking of, you're talking about that stability, making the plays in bot lane. Bang, who was the player of the series, had a lot of great stability, as you mentioned early on. Solo was working hard to combat that. So how do you feel that that did influence your decision to make those plays and not let them roll over the Bang that they were shutting down? Or attempting to?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure actually if they didn't put Solo in, they would have lost 3-0. I think they were really playing over passive, but with Solo they were playing like so aggressive topside, and they had like just Solo was like on counter matchup, and he was like ahead most of the time. So if we didn't do as much as on the other side, then game was hard, and I think that's why we went for the Taliyah pick with Pantheon on 4th game, because we know that we can abuse mid bot jungle art. We just went for it, and as I said, I think if we didn't make a mistake on like 10 minutes when I think it was Aatrox that was sitting on a bush and they killed our bot lane top at like 10 minutes. If that didn't happen, the game would have been so much easier to play. Like we were snowballing really hard, but then it was like, they actually have scaling, so it's like the game is hard to play, but we still have good picks and we made use of them. We engaged at the right timings, and we won.
You're already in the mindset of trying to improve moving on. Your next opponent, either C9 or 100 Thieves, what are you focusing on as a team going into the next potential matchup?
Just fixing some mistakes and just keep playing our playstyle. I think we showed that we can play like the slow style the first 3 games, and also we showed that we can go all in on 4th game and play for early game and dive bot 3 times even if they're matching 4v4. Like actually, when we went to dive the first time or second time, we were saying to go back, but I was like screaming that we can go in and fight 4v4 because our picks are just better. And I think this is the difference between like an NA team and just a team that can play good early game.
All right. Well, you're playing very well throughout this series, whether you're going slow, whether you're going fast. EG are trying to make those losses a thing of the past. So let's send things over to the State Farm analyst desk to continue the breakdown.
Thank you very much, the Tigress. Gentlemen, sounds like Jiizuke aligns with us a bit on that 4th game, saying that about 15 minutes in, they were thinking, this is, let's clean this up, let's move on. And then they did some work to maybe throw it back a little bit, but we're able to secure it in the end. Let's reflect a little bit on Jiizuke's journey here in North America. Again, the expectation coming in from Europe, the wild, unbridled play, which we saw out the gate, but to little success, which he cited in their poor first half record, and then the turnaround into the back half and how he's become so much a star of this squad. Kobe?
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning of the season, there were a lot of plays where the team just seemed really divided in what to do within the actual game. Maybe Jiizuke is on LeBlanc and going for a pick on somebody in the enemy team, but the entire rest of EG would not be setting up for the objective on the other side or not getting anything out of that pressure. And then when the play went wrong, they seemed to lose on multiple areas of the map at the same time. But now the team is concentrated in their efforts, basically. They're both working towards the same goal, even if they are spread out.
Well, first best of 5 is in the book. Let's take a look at the bracket and turn our attention towards tomorrow's match. That will be Cloud9 versus 100 Thieves. A big one. We'll see if anyone can challenge the likes of Cloud9 in a best of 5 series. But gentlemen, of course, as Evil Geniuses took the victory here and moves on to our next bout against the winner of that C900 Thieves matchup, we know that FlyQuest is sitting down there in the losers bracket now across from Golden Guardians.
Yeah, and as you can see, that will take place on Tuesday, April 7th, so just a couple more days. It's a
midweek league, baby.
Midweek league. People always want it. They get some now, and it's a quick turnaround for FlyQuest to have to, find and pinpoint some of these problems that they're having, as well as Golden Guardians being able to look at some of the games that they just played and say, oh, this is where EG was successful, and here's where we think we can emulate parts of that.
So we got 3 or 4 days to wait till Tuesday for that one. FlyQuest Golden Guardians. Probably give me your thoughts, though, on that Cloud9 100 Thieves matchup that we got coming at us just tomorrow.
Well, I'm pretty excited because today we saw, EG took a slower approach in the first 3 games, and I don't think anyone really expected that series to go that way. We thought it was going to be really fast-paced and games were going to be probably pretty bloody. So Cloud9 100 Thieves, I'm really curious what style they're going to bring. Is 100 Thieves going to try to ramp up and match C9 style? Is C9 even going to bring a really fast style, or are they going to slow down because it's playoffs? It's online and it's playoffs. Those are 2 big things we need to talk about more when we're kind of judging how a team plays. It's not going to be the same as a regular season.
I doubt they're going to slow down.
Yeah, probably not. There's a good chance, but...
Full speed ahead for Cloud9. Let's remind ourselves, though, 100 Thieves, just like EG, was one of those other teams that had a surge in the back half of the split. While maybe TSM was showing some inconsistency alongside FlyQuest, it was 100 Thieves and EG, which began, to kind of impress us. So, Mark, if 100 Thieves is going to challenge Cloud9 tomorrow, where does it come from? Who's going to do it?
I mean, the obvious candidate is Someday. He has been the standout player on that team. He was, I think, the closest in voting as well to dethroning a C9 member from the all-pro lineups. I think he was the closest on the second pro team behind FLICKR still, but he's been absolutely incredible. And I also think Cody's son is going to need to have one of the series of his lives. Sven is so good right now, but Cody has been the other person in that late season surge stepping up.
That's what I like to hear. I'm hoping for another competitive series tomorrow. It's 3-1 today with Evil Geniuses coming out on top and pushing FlyQuest down into that loser's bracket. Tomorrow, we have Cloud9 and 100 Thieves coming at you. Again, that's at 1 p.m. PST. I'll remind you again, 1 p.m. PST, because that is not normal for a Sunday broadcast. So be here 15 minutes prior to that, 12:45, if you want to catch us on the countdown for some lighthearted fun before we get into that best of 5. We got one best of 5 in the books here for the postseason. Plenty more to come here in North America 2020 spring. Now for myself, the casters, the entire live broadcast crew, I want to thank you all for watching here with us today, and see you later. Good night.